Welcome to the book of Yehoshua, chapter 9, Perek Tet. One of my favorite books as a kid was a kid's book. You know what? I don't even know if this is the title of the book, but it's called A Promise is a Promise. And it speaks about once you make a promise, that's it. You got to keep it. And that's exactly the story of Yehoshua and the people of Givon. So what happens? The people in the Canaan hear that basically Bnei Israel are yielding a uncompromising war against the people of the land. So they have two options, or maybe more. We'll see. The Canaanites, all of them, all the different conglomerates, all the different city-states, all the different people gather together for a unified army against Bnei Israel. That's one option. But then there's another option. The people of Givon decide they will trick Bnei Israel. What do? They take the bottles, in those days, a bottle really was, when you carried water across the desert, it was a skin, a leather bottle. Maybe you saw in some of the movies where they would have these jugs that are made out of leather. So they make them, but they make them in a way that's stitched and old. You ever see someone with like stitches on their clothing? Basically, they make these bottles that look like they've been through a trip through the Sahara Desert of a year or something. Then they take their shoes and they put stitches on their shoes to show that they're all raggy and worn out. And then they get bread and make sure that it's all very moldy and old. And so they make it look like they just came from a journey of a few months. And they come to Yehoshua and they're wearing clothing that's all torn. And they say, oh my gosh, we came from very far away and we'd love to have a covenant with you guys. Really, we're just these random people. We're not even from the area. We want to just have a covenant with you. And so they look into it. Yehoshua calls all the Nesi'im, all the leaders of the Jewish people. And they're like, all right, well, they're not from Canaan. Hashem said you can't make a covenant with the people of Canaan, but these guys are not from Canaan. And so they're like, yeah, sure, we'll make a deal with you. We'll be allies, no problem. 3 days later, Bnei Israel start hearing what's going on in the area, and they come to the Nesi'im and say, guys, you've been duped. These are not people from far away. These are people who are living right here in cities like Kiryat Yearim, right around the corner. And they just made this covenant with you because they knew you can't make covenants with the people of the land. And they knew that you wouldn't compromise if you knew they're your neighbors. So then they made this deal with you and you've been duped. So you made a promise, but do you have to keep it? Because it was under false pretenses. You guys said you'll make a deal with them because you thought they're from a different country. But now it turns out they're your next door neighbor. But the Nesi'im and Yehoshua tell Bnei Israel, sorry guys, a promise is a promise. And they say, look, we made this deal. They call the Givonim over and they're furious. And they say, why'd you lie to us? You're our next door neighbors here. You're Canaanim. Why'd you tell us you're from this random faraway country and come with all your torn clothing and your torn bottles and your torn shoes? And the Givonim say, look, we heard that you guys are winning everyone. We heard that Hashem made all these miracles for you, fighting against Og Melech HaBashan and Sichon Melech HaEmori. And we honestly just didn't want you guys to destroy us. And so that's why we did this. And so Yehoshua says, well, I guess we made a promise. We're going to keep it. But shame on you, and you're cursed. And you guys will have to now be water carriers and wood choppers for the house of Hashem. And forever and ever, if you want to live here, that's okay. But you guys will have to be wood choppers and water carriers. And that is the story of Givon. And always remember, no matter what, a promise is a promise. Thank you. I'll see you next time.